What if I told you the most hated championship run of the early 2000s wasn't just about ego, power, or one man holding a title, but about fear, transition, and a company trying to survive? Because when people talk about the Reign of Terror, they blame Triple H, yet the real story behind that era is far more complicated than the boos that filled arenas every single week. In 2002, WWE was in a strange place. The Monday Night War was over. World Championship Wrestling was gone. The Attitude Era chaos had peaked. And now the company needed structure, stars, and stability, and right in the middle of that storm stood Triple H, who returned from a devastating quad injury in early 2002 to one of the loudest ovations of his career, respected as the comeback warrior who fought back from what many believed was a career-ending injury. But things changed quickly when WWE introduced the brand, split and created the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw, and he was handed the title by Eric Bischoff instead of winning it in a tournament, planting the first seed of resentment because it felt handed political protected. And then the dominance began as night after night, month after month. Year after year, Triple H stood at the top of Raw, defeating challenger after challenger, often in long matches with controversial finishes and interference from Evolution alongside Ric Flair, Randy Orton, and Batista, with Orton positioned as the future, Batista the powerhouse waiting to explode, Flair the legend reinforcing credibility, but Triple H always the center, and fans began to feel trapped as Booker T lost. Kevin Nash lost. Goldberg eventually lost, and even when Goldberg won, it was short-lived and the title quickly returned, fueling the perception that he was holding everyone down. While the internet wrestling community exploded with accusations that his real-life relationship with Stephanie McMahon gave him backstage power, and that the Reign of Terror was less storyline and more reality, yet the story is more complicated because WWE had just absorbed WCW and ECW ratings were fragile. Pay-per-view buys mattered more than ever, and management believed stability was essential. And from a business standpoint, Triple H was consistent, reliable, capable of cutting long promos and delivering main event matches while understanding corporate presentation. So WWE needed a central villain fans would pay to see lose, and he embraced that role completely. Slowing matches, extending rivalries, leaning into arrogance as the surreal assassin, turning heat into currency. When people say he buried talent, the truth is layered. Creative feared sudden shifts might not last long-term. Nash was breaking down physically, Goldberg's sustainability was questioned. Orton was pushed too quickly and turned babyface before the story was ready, and each decision may have frustrated fans, but backstage they were calculated. Risks, not simply ego-driven grabs for power. And Evolution itself became a long-term investment, as Orton became one of the most decorated champions ever, and Batista would headline WrestleMania, with the seeds planted during the Reign of Terror eventually paying off, though in the moment fans only saw suffocating dominance, deafening boos, predictable outcomes, and Triple H as the face of corporate control, blurring storyline and reality in a way that intensified every victory and every controversial finish. And that is why when Batista finally turned on him in 2005, the reaction was explosive. Because the frustration had built for years, and the payoff only worked because the dominance felt endless. Was every decision perfect? No. Did some talents lose momentum? Absolutely. Was Triple H strongly protected? Yes. But the narrative that he single-handedly crushed a generation ignores that creative approved every finish, and the company was navigating a fragile post-war landscape without a safety net, choosing security over experimentation, control over chaos, and ironically the same man accused of holding others down would later transition into leadership and help shape the future of wrestling, proving that sometimes the most controversial chapters are not about one ego but about an entire industry trying to find its footing after chaos. Because the Reign of Terror was not just domination, it was transition, and whether you loved it or hated it, you felt it. And in wrestling, feeling something real is what makes an era unforgettable.